Well, look at that. All I got now is a blank screen, black. Here we go. I'm on. I can see myself.
Yeah, you make you see.
Hi, everybody. Right, guys. First of all, this is all brand new this evening, okay? We have got an OBS system on a laptop with a camera there and a camera there. And what's all that called, Mr. D?
Video mixer.
A video mixer. How's that, guys? So we're trying to improve as we go. So tonight we're going to be talking about microphones. But bear with me, I've got a little bit of news and all the rest. First of all, Andy again, Dusty, how are you doing? Evening, Lee, hope as well. Andy's on every single week, fantastic. And Paul, all the way from Merthyr Tydfil. Evening, Lee, hope you're well, mate. Paul, you've got to spell hope correct, because when you put H-P-E-E-O-E, then I read it wrong. Hope you're well, mate. Anyway, Paul, thanks. How are you doing? Good. There's 10 on already. So we're going to be introducing a man, Nick, in a little bit. Nick and Nicky. And what we're going to do is he has been mixing many bands for about 120 years, I believe. But actually, I'm fibbing, it's only 100. So I'll introduce you to Nick in a second. He's waiting in the wings as eager as anything. Just after, we're going to explain what we're trying to do, guys, to improve the live streams, but also what we want to do regarding the microphone. So this evening is an overview. Why have we got two microphones here, for an example? What types of microphones and all the rest? Why have we got these hair dryers up there, or as someone said, there's a bra in the air? So why have we got these frames going up on the wall? So we're going to be discussing what we are doing, first of all, at Cariad for tonight. Then after that, what we're going to start doing is breaking down week by week, when we do these particular streams, what to do if you are playing with a band or a studio. Why would you use what types of mics? Do you want one mic, two mics and three mics and so on? So the thing is about microphoning up your drums, couple of little pointers. It's a nightmare unless you're really experienced at it, because sound is just so difficult to control. But secondly, what exactly do you want a microphone for? So a little example on that: if you want to buy a new vehicle, what vehicle would you buy? Well, if you want to cruise in America down the highway, then you get a big old Buick V8 or whatever, big Mustang, and that's where you cruise. But if you took that car to Italy, to the top of the mountains where the little townships are, then that car is no use. You need a little tuk-tuk or a little Fiat 500. And it's very similar in many respects with microphones. Do you go out and spend £20,000 when you only needed to spend 200 quid? Or if you spend £200 hoping to have a sound like it's 20,000 and it won't work. So it can be a real minefield. So we got Nick that's going to go through some of those pointers with us tonight. So before we do, just to let you know what's happening, the back room that many of you would be aware of there now is becoming a recording mixing room. So that's happening at the moment. We're going to sort the drum kit, as we said, because in time, over the next few months, we're going to start to record both drummers here, but also musicians here. It's all happening at this end of the shop. So if young drummers or older drummers want to become sort of Instagram approved, or young stars on Instagram, we're going to develop a service here where you can come here and do it all within shop. So we'll film you, various cameras, all of the drum kit preset, walk in with your sticks, create your thing and become an Instagram success, just like that, okay? But we're also going to be doing bands, as I said, or musicians and singer-songwriters. But later, if you would like to do something like we do here, like these broadcasts and so on, and you feel that you're a personality that could go out and find an audience on YouTube, you can also come here and use our facility. And finally, we will show you, by teaching you what we have done here, how you can do it from your own house. So there's tons and tons and tons to speak about. So without further ado, you'll think Nick is very old now, don't you? Because he's been mixing for 100 years. Come on in, Nick, and say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Look at the audience clapping over there. So, right, Nick, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Lee.
And you've started down here now, haven't you, with what we are setting up?
Early days.
Yes.
We are set up.
Yeah.
It's a nice little room. All the equipment's in. We can record.
Excellent.
We can mix. We can edit. So,
We're going to look good in the next couple of weeks or
very
so.
Good, very good.
Excellent, excellent. So we got two cameras, as we said.
Yes.
And we got a production person as well now. Our team is growing.
Mr. D.
Yeah, Mr. D. So instead of the 3 Lees coming here and having to do everything, there's 3 separate people. I love it. And next door, yeah, and next door, I've got a little team there. So what's happening? It takes the workload off me, and it means we can spread our wings even more. Right, Nick, so we're going to talk about what we did, or in particular what you did to mic up the drum kit as it was. But first, what I would like to ask you, why is this room such a good room, and yet for a drum kit is also, to mic it up, a problem?
This is a big room, right? We've got high ceilings, we've got metal walls. It's a long, big room. So the natural sound, right, I'll explain it later. These overhead mics, the way I record drums, the overhead mics for me is 60-70% of the kit sound.
Nice.
We also could use room mics, but at the moment we're not using that because the overhead mics are picking up loads of room. We've got massive amounts of reflection coming from all the walls, the ceiling. You hear that?
Yeah.
So we would naturally record a great big John Bonham, boom, which would be great.
How does that go?
Which would be great. You know, when the levy breaks, that's the sound. It's going to be a big, cavernous drum sound.
Yes.
So we're trying to do, as you can see, on the back walls, we put some tiles, absorbents. I'll explain what these are, and then later on we're going to develop some panels so we can just dry up. When I say dry up, I mean take the room sound out.
Yes.
So we've got some options. So if you're in a band, you want that great big, this is a great room for recording big drum sounds, but we also need to be able to record things like funk that need dry.
Because you said with funk today, you really want to kill it dead.
Kill it dead.
Yeah.
That 70s snare, it's like Eagles, just...
And it's a nice jazzy room as well, really, because you feather the bass drum.
There's lots of ambience, and this is a better option, because if you've got a small room to record drums in, you've only got a small room, you're stuck. That's it, you've got one sound. Low ceilings give you what's called early reflections, which means the sound is bouncing from the ceiling back to the mics. In such a short space of time, it's causing cone filtering and confusing your sound. So a big room is better because we've got options. With some treatment, with some baffles, with some stuff that we'll come to later, we can make this room sound any way we want.
Yes.
But you can't make a small room sound big.
No.
So
I experienced that at home through COVID, trying my best, and all I had was just...
And we've got a big room here. Without a doubt.
How much in percentage, like Adam has mentioned already from the college, how much in percentage is the drum sound to the overall quality of the record produced?
I think a great band with a crap drummer is never going to be a great band. An average band with a great drummer can be a great band. I think everything, when I record, it all starts with the drums. A great drum recording, a great drum performance, and everything else can be built on. But if you don't get a good drum sound, you don't get a good drum performance, the rest is a waste of time.
So boys and girls out there, you drummers.
The joke about drummers not being musicians is not actually true.
Right, a couple of little pointers. Gary, Gary, new haircut too. Is that me, Gar? There we are. Or is he talking to me? It might be me. Yeah, there we are. So, and Dave, hi Nick, and Tom. Hiya, Tom. Did you meet Tom the other day? Lovely lad, Tom. So good stuff. So a big room, as you said, allows option 1, and then we can kill the room down for option 2.
Which probably something we'll talk about another time. But
and we'll explain that.
We have options. You don't have options in a small room. So
excellent. So I'm going to mention, can you see these panels? Which side am I on camera? Your side. Yeah? Oh, hang on, we're going to flick the camera. Watch this now. Look at this. I think we are. Whee! This is good. I like Mr. D. He's great.
I know.
Mr. Production in the background. Look at this. So I'm going to tell you a quick story about this, boys and girls. My wife bought a gazebo for us for the summertime, and it was lovely. Full tent. Stuck it in the garden. I screwed it down to the deck in. Lovely. The storm came, and we forgot to lift it out. And instead of it being at the back of the house, it's at the front of the house. So the good thing was, it got smashed. So I brought it in and invented an idea. And that is, if we want to kill the kit down, we want to put curtains here, don't we? Big soundproof blankets.
Big heavy blankets, yeah.
Yeah. So we can push these out, they click in, and we can drape the blankets. We're going to create the frame so we can put the ceiling on, and then we've got an enclosed feel, haven't we? So that, if you're wondering, guys, that's what they're there for. So we don't have to have everyone walking into them, and we can simply retract them out of the way. Love it. So that's what we are doing there. And that will mean, instead of the cones, isn't it, we can actually have a lid for the overheads, couldn't we?
These are made by a company called Aston. They're called Aston Halos. And we'll show you later, there's a microphone in there. But what they do is they shield the microphone from the room sound as much as possible. They're quite expensive. They're like £200 each. So it's not really...
That's an expensive bra.
Yeah, it's an expensive bra. They look a little strange. They are very effective.
Yeah.
But of course, in a room that's this big, they're only doing as much as they can.
Because we've tested already and we've got a pretty good sound.
We've got a great drum sound,
so we can improve.
Yeah.
Right, so what I want to do for folks at home, if those that... I keep getting questions, boys will phone me up, they say, look Lee, I'm thinking of playing with the band and I don't know how to mic up, so I said what we're going to do is to drop a series of these in. So that's that. But for today, we just want to flick around with a few pros and cons for people to understand. So if we can ask Mr. D to come and show these two microphones to the best of your ability. That's marvellous, Mr. D. I think Mr. D is going to stick now for life.
Can't live without him.
Production, Mr. D. So, what we're going to ask now, there's a microphone going in, as we've said, and there's a microphone on the face. So, why two for you?
Why two? Okay. The kick drum is made of two main sounds. There's the attack of the beater against the front skin, and there's the boom of the whole drum, which comes from the drum, the shell, and the front skin. Yeah. So the idea, right? If you're going to record drums the expensive way, the sort of professional studio way, we'll use two mics at least. One I will have inside the drum, pointing at the beater where it hits the skin. At the moment, I've got an Audix D6. It's just, for me, it's a great mic at a great price point. It's a £200 sort of microphone, which is expensive for a home user, but it's
they are good.
You could spend a lot more, put it that way, and not get much more quality. So I have that inside the drum, about halfway through the drum, pointed at where the beater hits the front skin. And the second mic, and this is an expensive mic. This is a JZ V67. It's a handmade. It's a brilliant mic, but the thing with this mic is it's not just a kick drum mic. It can be used on vocals, it can be used on guitars, but it's great on outside kick.
We don't want to talk guitars.
But no, we're not talking about that. So this is on the outside kick. It's a couple of inches at the moment, but we can alter that. The further back you go, the more boom you're going to get from that bass drum.
So you've got an attack at the back.
So the attack is from the back, the boom is from the front, and we mix those together.
Because you've got two channels there for you, and you can adjust.
And obviously you have to make sure the phase is correct. But
that's
something for another day.
Yeah.
So
Lovely.
In that pops, I can't do it from here, but so it's pointing right where the beater head hits the skin.
There you go.
That gives you the snap, the click.
Yeah.
And this gives you the boom and the resonance of the drum shell.
Fantastic. So that's that. So we'll come to the toms. We'll work our way down like that. So you've got Audix again, because you like Audix for the toms.
The Audix series, the D
individual mics on there. Now, explain to folk the advantage and disadvantage with drum clips going on to the rim of the drum.
Okay, right. We've used clips which click onto the rim of the drum and they hold the mic. It's a really quick and easy way to make a drum kit. I would say live, they're fantastic. In the studio, I would rather use stands because with a clip, you get a certain amount of mechanical noise transferred from the drum to the microphone. That's not part of the drum sound.
Yeah, I think all drummers understand that
exactly.
When you tap one thing on a drum kit, it sets off so many other things, doesn't it?
So they're not the best solution for recording. But in this environment, we don't really want big stands sticking out everywhere and people bumping into them. So for now, we've gone with the clips. These clips are about £15 each, and they are just an easy solution to quickly get your mics on.
And I think it's good for boys again to understand studio and live carry different characters. You can get away with live what you can't in the studio, isn't it? I know Adam was mentioning before, he literally says to drummers, I'll record what you're playing. Yeah. If you're not playing it, take it out.
I don't really have an issue with clips on the toms, because again, the toms are not hit continually. Yeah. I wouldn't use a clip on the snare. Yeah. Because obviously the snare is continuous, and you don't want the mechanical, the thump that's not part of the drum sound, because the clip is attached. You know, it's like knocking on the wall, you know, it's not something that you want.
Excellent, good. So sometimes we have problems, don't we? Like they will pick up.
Yes.
Because all of these mics are live, pointing at something. These in particular were picking up the snare a lot, weren't they?
Big part of drum
so
miking.
You may have to do gating, which is another thing we can talk about, or you take them out until they are required, isn't it? Yeah. And sometimes surplus cymbals, like if that's on your live set, but you're not using it, take it out to the way.
I would encourage when I'm recording a drummer to maybe lift his cymbals a little higher than you might usually like.
Yeah, just so they
try
not
and get a
picking
little
up.
more separation. So they're not this would be bleeding badly into the top two mics. So I'd say, but any chance we could lose this, or we could raise it up a bit higher, and you know.
And if anybody out there doesn't understand that, what I would suggest to you is you put your floor tom and bring your ride cymbal over your floor tom and hit your floor tom hard and listen to how much your ride cymbal sets off. Because it's movement of air. As soon as you hit that floor tom, the underneath that, ooh, and you get a buzz coming through the ride cymbal, don't you? Yeah. So that's why mixing and miking drums it takes time, experience, and a lot of trials, doesn't it, to get things right. So just one or two messages, quick. We got Mike Skinner. Hiya, Mike. Mike is, again, a great guy. He comes in here and he'll go in the practice room. I keep telling everybody this for 5 hours or more. He's on a previous video about how music can help you, you know, when you've gone through a tough time in life. So, hiya, Mike. Andy Edwards, very versatile mic we use on the soon-to-be-released The Mighty Rar album. It's Andy Edwards.
It's Andy Edwards.
He snuck in there. You play guitar, and...
I'm mixing it. It won't be long, I promise. I'll finish it soon.
Just need to squeeze in there. And so we got Northwood's Peachtree Cool Influence. So excellent. Thanks, guys, for commenting. And my messages are working for once. Right then. So a couple more bits, not to take too long for you out there, boys and girls. But why would you, or why do so many use 2 mics or more on a snare drum?
Right, so let me come across you quickly here.
Bear with us, guys.
Okay. 2 mics on the snare drum, simply because the top mic, you can see here, I've got a Beta 57 by Shure. It's about £110 worth of microphone. It's a great choice. The thwack, the big sound of your snare drum comes from the top. But underneath, I've got another mic which is pointed right at the centre of the drum. I used a clip for this. I'll tell you why in a moment. Just a standard old Shure SM57 that's picking up the snare. Now the snare, people think of a snare drum as just being a drum, but it's called a snare drum. Underneath, as you know, is a set of wires, is the snare, which gives the rattle to the sound, and it's a big part of the snare sound. So we mic top and bottom, but a really important thing to think about is because if you've got one mic pointing at the other mic, both those mics need to be out of phase. So the bottom mic, the snare mic, I'll flip the polarity, which is done on the mixer, so it's out of phase. So what happens is the signal from the bottom mic is strengthening, I suppose, the signal from the top mic, and then you mix those two together to create. You don't usually use a great deal of the bottom mic, no, but together that gives you that, you know, a full snare sound.
Now we got a microphone on the hi-hat, but you don't need to come over, Mr. D, because I know that as well. If I went in the studio, I tell them not to bother. In that, a lot of the time,
sometimes for intricate funk work, you know, but it's better to have it than not have it. So just mic.
I'm not a love it or
mic the hat.
However,
it's better to have it and not use it than it is not to have it and need it. So.
Yeah, excellent. So while you're there now, you mentioned the overheads, 2 overheads, and ideally the sort of positioning. What's very important, they've got to be equal, haven't they?
Well, the overheads create the biggest picture of the kit. When I record, I start by listening to the overheads, because that is the 60%, 70% of how the kit sounds.
Yeah.
So usually I want to position the overheads so that even though my snare is not actually in the centre of the drum kit as you look at it, that when you listen to it, the snare appears to be in the centre of the stereo image. I don't know if Mr. D wants to come over and actually have a look at what we've got underneath these bras. We've Aston Halos. We've got two AKG C4 and 4s. Now, I have to admit, these are quite expensive mics. It's about £1,500 for the pair, but they are really like an industry standard for overhead. It's a simple choice. They're great. They just do the job.
Yeah.
This is a matched pair, which means that they both sound exactly the same at the factory. And we've created this overhead system so we don't have to have big stands in the shop, so it's permanent fixture.
Yeah, that's just because of the shop at the moment.
Yeah, we don't really want stands sticking out everywhere, but this is working great. So this creates a nice stereo image. I usually think of it from drummer's perspective, which means when I say left to right, it's like I'm sitting behind the kit.
Yes.
So I think of left as being the hi-hat and the right as being the floor tom.
Yes, yes.
So both those mics in my mix, we panned left and right. Not always hard left and right, but they will. One to the left, one to the right, which creates a stereo.
Yeah.
Just by listening to the overheads on their own, when the drummer hits like a tom run, you can hear it going from the left speaker to the
Yeah.
So it goes from the left to the right, and you hear that in the stereo image. And then all the close mics, I then fill the picture in from the overhead mics to give it the attack and to give it the power. But generally, the overhead mics, 60-70% of your sound of the drum kit is coming from up there.
Yeah.
So that's
Because it gives the picture.
It gives the picture. It's
It's
what a drum kit really sounds like.
And how does this drum kit sound?
This
It's
drum
nice,
kit
isn't it?
is very nice, but it's very expensive.
Yeah, no, it's not too bad, because when you consider what drum kits can cost.
Oh yeah.
So a shell pack like this is £1,700-1,800, but that's a really well-made kit.
Yeah, well, we've played with this week and we recorded it a little bit, and it sounds great.
Yeah,
So,
it's good.
yeah.
Right then, out of interest, you might not even know this yourself. Do you know that? Where does stereo come from and why? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you for why. Because once upon a time, everyone used to go to theatres and watch orchestras in theatres. And because you have all the instruments panned around the theatre in a certain way, so your drummer might be there, but of course you've got your strings over here, your brass over there, there's a natural ambience within that theatre of sound coming from different places. But of course everybody, when they first started to broadcast, was one speaker, mono, so it killed the atmosphere. There wasn't a feel for everything. And it's important to why you mentioned about these. Yeah. So a man, once upon a time, I've forgotten who he was now, Uncle Bert, he realised that if you was to create 2 or more speakers and actually move things, the target was to create a theatre sound at home. And that's where stereo basically came from. Look at that. That's from a drummer's brain.
I just learned something.
Yeah. So the point that you made about overheads and rolling down the kit is that very thing. It's meant to create, when you're listening to in your car or whatever, create more of a live, natural feel than a mono, which is a bit bland.
When I mix recorded drums, I actually like to make it feel like you're sitting behind the kit.
Yeah.
So when drummers are listening, they put headphones on, they can feel that it's a natural, what they're used to hearing.
I like panning, I do. I think it's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have 1 or 2 guys that I really like. John Hyatt is one guy, really good songwriter and that, but he pans like extremes, and I really like it. It's unusual. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, it's great when you hear the toms.
I like it.
Think of Pink Floyd records.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, with the big fills that you hear them go.
You're doing it again now. How'd you
I
go?
can't help it. You know how it goes. You know how it goes.
Right, Nick, so that's pretty much it for today, guys. So what we're going to do is, as I said, is explain a little at a time that if you want to record from home, the pros and cons, what you can expect out of a room, and what you're going to, like I learned, I'm just fighting with the room, and if I'm honest, it didn't work enough, because I was in my garage and it didn't work. Hence I thought, no, we're better off doing it here. Yeah. So we're going to go through a little bit at a time. I'm still going into the college studio as well. Plus, when we're all set up, we're going to come in there and just to see how things work, and then offer the services further out. Because I'm getting drummers asking me all the time, could I come here to be helped to create my own channel, and that's what we're going to do a little further down the line. So one more, Rob Griffiths. Oh, here we go. Rob knows. Look, it was Steve Rio, hence the term stereo.
Thanks,
I'll get
Rob.
my coat.
Rob Griffiths again.
Rob knows everything about everything. So anyway, he says, Nick, how be? You can speak American as well. How be, man? Keep up the good work.
I'm
so
very
we're trying.
Rob, I'd also like to say, and you know what I'm talking about, thanks for this, because I know you've had a lot to do with this opportunity and making this happen. So,
Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
You knew who we were. And there's me talking to the camera with the phone in my face. That's not good, is it? Anyway, so Nick is going to be here quite a lot. This is happening. We want everything in Cariad to either teach guys that are often too nervous to ask a question, so we want to just get it out there anyway, but also keep creating not just the fact you've got a shop or the spray shop and the teaching, etc., but you've got facilities, and as we grow the team, I haven't got to stress out. I just stick it on you. And away to go. So thanks, Mr. D. That's really good, that was. Hey, look at that. So we've used this new Fandangle setup, which I was going to invest in. I don't need to now.
I think it's
Mr.
worked.
D.
I
hope so. We'll see when I flash
Hi,
back.
man.
Let's see, like. So that's it, guys. We didn't do bad. It's 27 minutes, so we're all in. Thank you very much, Nick. Really appreciate it. And you know the score, guys. Click on thumbs up. Stick the messages on. Do us a favour as well. Say a nice video or whatever on the official YouTube thing rather than the live chat. Do that for me as well.
And lots more to come.
All of this adds to the algorithms, which means YouTube gets pushed and we'll grow the channel. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much. So now, Mr. D, 5, 4, 3...